There are moments in history that aren't just dates on a calendar. They are divine alarms. July 22, 2025 is one of those moments. And no, I'm not saying that to create fear. I'm saying that because something is stirring in the heavens, in the nations, and in the hearts of men like you. You feel it, don't you? You're not just struggling in relationships. You're wrestling with identity. You're not just trying to make money. You're searching for purpose. You're not just tired. You're spiritually malnourished. And somewhere deep in your soul, you know that the world is changing. That something big is coming. That you were born for more than just survival. This isn't a conspiracy. It's not emotional hype. It's not religion. It's a wake-up call. There's a reason you feel restless. There's a reason the things that used to satisfy you don't anymore. There's a reason why no amount of success has made you feel whole. Because God is calling you out of the noise, out of numbness into something real. And this prophecy, this message, might just be your turning point. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. The world doesn't operate on your timing. Something divine. And that's why this date, July 22, 2025, is not just another spot on the calendar. It's a prophetic marker. But if you're not awake, you'll miss it. You'll miss the shaking. You'll miss the whisper. You'll miss the shift. And here's the thing. I don't want you to miss it. Because I believe you were meant to walk right into it. Think about it. Have you been feeling out of sync lately? Like the world around you is running on fumes? Like you're chasing something, but you can't name it? That's not coincidence. That's not burnout. That's a signal from God, from your soul, from something deep inside you that refuses to settle for the noise and numbness this culture keeps selling. You were made for more. You were made for meaning. And July 22 is a divine checkpoint. For some of you, it's a wake-up call. For others, it's confirmation that you're not crazy. That this ache in your chest, this feeling like something big is coming, is real. God has always spoken through appointed times. Passover, the Sabbath, moments in history where heaven and earth meet, and men are called out of routine and into revelation. And this is one of those moments. But not everyone will hear it. Because this generation is too busy scrolling, too busy numbing, too busy performing. We're addicted to noise. But prophecy doesn't shout. It whispers. You have to quiet down to hear it. So here's my question for you. Will you be the man who misses it because you were too distracted? Or will you be the man who rises, not because he has all the answers, but because he finally started asking the right questions? There's a shaking coming, not to destroy, but to define. A generation that won't be led by fear, but by fire. That's why you're here. And if you feel this message hitting somewhere deep, that's not emotion. That's eternity echoing through your soul. You were never meant to drift through this life. You were meant to wake up. And July 22 might just be the day everything starts to make sense. Let's talk about being set apart. Not excluded by society. Set apart by God. See, most people confuse loneliness with isolation. But there's a deeper reason some of you feel like you don't fit in. It's not because you're broken. It's not because you failed. It's because Heaven marked you for something different. And the world doesn't know what to do with people who carry oil instead of opinions. Think about this. Noah was ridiculed for building something nobody had ever seen, for a flood that had never come. Joseph was thrown into a pit for dreaming something too big. David was overlooked. Moses was exiled. Elijah wanted to give up. Jeremiah was called too young. Yet all of them were set apart, not to suffer, not to be weird, but to be prepared. Because if God's going to trust you with something powerful, He has to separate you from what's powerless. That's what you're feeling right now. The tension. You keep wondering why people don't understand you, why relationships break, why you feel like you're walking alone. It's not punishment, it's positioning. You're being hidden for a reason. You're not in the crowd because you were never called to follow the crowd. But here's the lie the enemy wants you to believe, that your loneliness means God has forgotten you. That because your phone isn't blowing up or people don't text back, you're irrelevant. That's a lie. The truth is, God is guarding your oil, protecting your anointing, and He won't allow it to be diluted by voices that don't value what's on your life. If you're going to carry purpose, you have to endure the silence. If you're going to carry fire, you have to walk through the dark. It's the hidden seasons that prepare you for the public ones. It's the heartbreaks, the let the nights alone, that become the firewood for your calling. You're not weird. You're not forgotten. You're not behind. You're being formed. So stop comparing your preparation to someone else's highlight reel. Stop begging for doors that God shut to protect you. Stop assuming that just because it's hard, it's wrong. And there's a no shortcut to becoming the man God is shaping in the shadows. Lean in. The isolation isn't punishment. It's the cocoon before the wings. Let me ask you something that most people avoid. Not who you pretend to be, not who you perform as, but who you are, raw, unfiltered, behind closed doors, in the silence. Because here's the truth. The world will always try to define you by what you do, what you have, or who applauds you. But God defines you by what you carry. And the most dangerous moment in a man's life isn't when he's struggling. It's when he starts believing that struggle means failure. Listen, you are not your sin. You are not your mistake. You are not your broken relationship, your porn addiction, your father wound, your job status, or your bank account. You are not what they said about you when you were 8. You are not the names you called yourself at midnight when you couldn't sleep. You are chosen. You are deeply loved. You are a weapon in the hand of a God who doesn't make mistakes. But that weapon must be forged, and forging is painful. You don't build strength in comfort. You build it under pressure. And if you've been under pressure lately, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that's not random. That's refinement. You think God is punishing you. No. He's preparing you. You think life is against you. No. It's pushing you into purpose. Some of you feel like everything is falling apart, but in reality, everything that doesn't belong to your next season is being stripped away. You prayed for clarity, and now people are walking out of your life. You asked for strength, and now you're being tested at every level. You begged God for real love, and now everything fake is being exposed. That's not a curse. That's a blessing in disguise. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be real. And you need to be willing to surrender the version of yourself you've outgrown. The mask, the pride, the emotional numbness, so you can step into the man God actually designed you to be. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. But it is transformational. There's something you need to know about isolation. The kind of isolation that creeps in even when you're surrounded by people. It's that hollow silence inside of you that no party, no relationship, no Instagram quote can fix. And most men, quietly, numbly, some even proudly, because they were taught that emotion equals weakness. But let me tell you what the Word shows us. Every man God set apart for something great. First, He set him alone. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers. David was left in the field, overlooked and forgotten. Elijah sat under a tree and asked God to take his life. And Jesus, the Son of God, went to the wilderness alone before he ever stepped into ministry. So maybe, just maybe, your wilderness isn't punishment. Maybe it's preparation. You've been asking God for answers. But what if the silence is the answer? What if that loneliness you're feeling is the place God's been waiting to speak to you, to remove every voice but His, so you finally hear who you really are? We're a generation drowning in noise. Podcasts, TikToks, YouTube shorts, motivational reels. Everyone's talking. Not to God, not to their soul, not to their pain. And listen, pain will speak whether you like it or not. It will whisper through your anxiety, your depression, your addictions. It'll scream through the way you sabotage your relationships and distract yourself with work, sex, weed. But that pain, it's not your enemy. It's the alarm clock of your soul. And the longer you ignore it, the more you delay the life God's been trying to build through you. So what do? You stop running. You stop numbing. You stop pretending you're okay when you're not. And you get alone. Not with your phone, but with God. With your journal. With brutal, honest, terrifying stillness. Because in the quiet, in that holy solitude, you'll start to hear something you've forgotten. That you are not abandoned. That this pain is birthing purpose. That this wilderness is sacred. And that the silence, it's where God shapes warriors. Not just habits. Patterns, cycles. The stuff that keeps repeating in your life like a broken record. Relationships that fall apart. Dreams you get close to but never finish. People who use you. Promises that don't manifest. And you're standing there, exhausted, wondering, why does this always happen to me? But here's the hard truth most men never want to hear. God will allow you to revisit the same pain until you finally confront the root of it. See, the enemy isn't always some external demonic force. Sometimes the enemy is your silence, your avoidance, your refusal to do the deep work. And until you confront that, you'll keep running in circles. Let's go deeper. The Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. Not because God failed them, because they refused to face their own disbelief. They saw miracles. They were set free. They had destiny spoken over them. But when it came time to cross over, to step into the promise, they panicked. Why? Because it's easier to stay familiar with pain than to face the unfamiliar path to healing. And you've probably been wandering too. Different job, same anxiety. Different girl, same emptiness. Different city, same spiritual drought. At some point, you have to ask, what lie have I agreed with that keeps building these walls around me? Because God isn't going to bless the mask. He blesses the real you. The one who limps from pain but keeps walking. The one who's done pretending. The one who's brave enough to say, God, show me what I've buried. You might think your biggest battle is against lust, depression, anger, addiction. But no, your biggest battle is against the version of you that keeps surviving instead of surrendering. And that version, the one who's fine, the one who keeps showing up with fake confidence and fake strength, has to die if the real you is going to live. So stop blaming the season. Stop pointing at everyone else. Start asking, God, what are you trying to break off of me so I can finally become who you made me to be? You want breakthrough. Then go where it hurts. That's where the resurrection begins. Let's talk about the call. Not your career, not your Instagram brand new. I mean the real call. The one God spoke over your life before you ever took your first breath. Because whether you feel it or not, you've been marked, set apart, not for comfort, but for impact. The problem, most men never answer that call. Not because they didn't hear it, but because they were afraid it might cost them everything. And it will. See, when God calls you, He doesn't just hand you a stage or a crown. He hands you across a mirror, a shovel. And He says, let's start digging through the pride, the pain, the past. I'm going to show you who you really are. That's why so many fall away. That's why gifted men become addicted. Why smart men drown in lust. Why good men self-destruct. Because the anointing comes with a crushing. He calls the surrendered. And maybe right now, you're in a season that doesn't make sense. You're alone. Your prayers feel like silence. Your efforts feel wasted. And you're wondering, if I'm really chosen, then why is this so hard? Here's the truth: the greater the call, the deeper the fire. Before David held a throne, before Joseph wore royal robes, he wore chains in prison. Before Jesus wore the crown, he wore a crown of thorns. So maybe your pain isn't proof of failure. Maybe it's evidence you're on the verge of becoming the man God actually designed you to be. But hear this, you can't fake your way through this. God's not asking for your filters. He's not impressed with your hustle. He wants your heart, bruised, bare, real. And if you give Him that, if you say, God, I don't have it all together, but I'm here, use me, He'll take your brokenness and build something eternal with it. The world doesn't need another tough guy. It needs a real man yielded to God. A man who isn't afraid to be broken, because he knows his strength doesn't come from performance. It comes from presence. So if you're hearing this, it's not an accident. You've been called. Not to fit in, but to stand out. Not to chase clout, but to carry glory. Not to be perfect, but to be holy. And that begins the moment you finally stop running and start surrendering. Maybe right now, you're sitting in your room with questions you're too afraid to ask out loud. Maybe you've been pretending to be okay for too long, smiling when you feel numb, chasing things that leave you emptier every time. And maybe, just maybe, something in this message pierced through noise through the noise and touch that place inside you that's been crying out to be seen, be healed, to come home. Let me say this as clearly as I can. You are not here by accident. Not on this earth. Not on this channel. Not watching this video. This is not just content. This is a divine interruption. This is a moment where heaven leans in and says, "Son, I see you. I still want you. I still have plans for you." If this stirred something in your soul, if even one word cracked the shell around your heart, don't leave here the same. Speak up in the comments, not just to me, but to others walking the same road. You never know who needs to hear your story, your struggle, your breakthrough. And if you feel like you're finally waking up, like you're ready to stop running and start rebuilding, then share this. Send it to your brother, your friend, the guy who's too proud to ask for help, the one who jokes too much because he's hiding everything. They need this too. Like this video if it lit a fire in you. Subscribe if you're ready to go deeper. Because this isn't a one-time word. This is a journey. A calling. A war cry for the chosen ones to rise up and walk like sons again. We are not here to impress the world. We are here to change it. But it starts with men like you, who are finally ready to let God change them. But go changed. And I'll see you in a Thinkan. Kun motivational speech can faith restored. 5 men of God. Fez subscribe now the God eyes calling.